Hey everyone, welcome to week 2. We are going to be talking about metacognition, social constructivism, and connectivism. And we have a very special guest with us because at least I got one person on here. So go ahead, say hello.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris.
Okay, and he'll be jumping in, helping with some different things. And what we're really going to be starting to talk about now are the 3 concepts we want you to go ahead and be looking at for this week. And these 3 concepts are metacognition, social constructivism, and connectivism. Now, to move forward, think about those terms for a little bit. Now, you might already be doing this with your classes. You might already be doing this with your students, and you just might be learning a new vocabulary. That might be all you're doing this week. But we want you to think about these things. So to continue on, metacognition. Metacognition, I know it sounds funny. It's thinking about thinking or being aware of your own thinking.
So meta, so meta.
What's that?
I said it's so meta.
Yeah, metacognition is so meta. Yes, thinking about your thinking while you're thinking. Okay, but really what it is, metacognition is, do you understand how you learn and how you learn best? So there's strategies out there for that. And the reason we're bringing up metacognition, all of you have gone through graduate school. All of you are wonderful students. But as we're moving on, I want you to think about what domain you're learning in. Because up until this point, you've probably been pretty good at face-to-face. You've probably been pretty good at looking at lectures, at listening to people talk to you. But how much experience do you have online? You might have to come up with some new strategies. So here's some different strategies you can think about for metacognition. And what I really want you to think about here is, how do you learn best? And I'll go ahead and I'll tell my little story here. My little story is that when I was going through graduate school, I tried to get out of taking calculus class. Okay? I tried to graduate, but at the end, they made me take calculus class. And because I was working full-time already, I had to take it online. Now, because of that, I was taking math online, and that was taking it through a domain that I had never done before. And I'm really good online, and I'm good with technology, and I thought this will be no problem. Well, what I found out was when I took those calculus tests, I would have to print off the problems and take them to my kitchen table and have a pencil there and figure them out, like I did every other math problem as I was going through school. There was something about the fact that I couldn't quickly jump into just doing it online and sitting in front of a screen doing that. So for this, what I really had to do was I had to rethink how I went about learning. And with metacognition, both for you and your students, it can be divided into these 3 distinct phases, like developing a plan before you did that task. I found out really quickly that I had to print things off to do those math problems. You have to monitor your understanding, and you have to evaluate your thinking. So let's continue on a little bit more with these thoughts.
Now, you know, all the math instructors are listening are going to be like,
all the math instructors are going, wait a minute, why couldn't you do it on a screen? Yeah, sorry, I couldn't. So with metacognition,
and what's so bad about calculus?
Some of the skills examples are knowing the limits of your memory, self-monitoring your learning strategy. This might be doing a concept map as you're going along with these things. You might decide to skim subheadings. You might have to rehearse a skill. You might have to do some self-testing, okay? But think about this for a minute. Like I said before, you might be a total whiz when it comes to face-to-face, but when it comes to online, you might be dealing with something totally different. Now, did you have a thought, Chris?
Well, one of the things I saw with things I do with all my students when I teach accounting is I encourage them to do the practice test where they go ahead and go, first thing you do is before you even read the chapter, take the practice test. So that way you can break out what you know, what you don't know. And then focus on using some of these strategies here, actually go ahead and focus on those concepts that they're shaky on or they don't know. And that way they can really optimize their time when it comes to studying. How can they be more effective at learning, number one, what they already know, and then also realizing a quick way to figure out, okay, I really don't know this, or I thought I knew it, and and I got all those questions wrong. So that's one of those things where these are really good strategies to just one of the things you can definitely use those pre-tests or practice tests to help students sort of get a feel for metacognition and learning to sort of build things for themselves, which is really actually very empowering for a lot of students because it takes a lot of the anxiety out because they have a plan. They're like, I have a plan. I know I'm going to study this.
And the thing about this is, now just think for a moment. This just sounds good for any class, right? Face to face. Now, when you're talking to your students, and if this is the first time you're teaching online, it might be the first time they're taking an online class. So you really have to talk to them about what their metacognition is going to be in this new domain of online learning. Like, they might be used to and do really well when there's an instructor right in front of them and telling them what the important parts are. So here's the thing. You might be giving some additional information to your students, additional guidance to, well, this is how you do it online. This is the best way you can look at the material. You should really be going ahead and making that, making that mind map, or you should really be taking notes, on a separate piece of paper as you're doing this, because you're looking at a screen. You don't have the same kind of highlighting and little notes around the edges that you're used to doing. So just think about it when it comes to you and your students. What kind of metacognition are they going to have for this new online domain?
Or if they have dual monitors, you can have a Google Doc up, or you can have a document up that you can actually take your notes on, as opposed to your tablets. There's lots of fun things they can do.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's continue on, because all about this, everything we're talking about now is about the learning, and hopefully what we're getting at is the deeper learning. So we're going to move on to the next concept we want you to talk about, think about, discuss this week. Hey, we got someone coming in the background, but don't worry about it. I am sure that they are much more scared of you than we are. It's George. Yes, we're here at Larimer at the IDC. And it's a great time for him to have come in, because we're getting into the social group part of it, meaning social constructivism. So take a look at that picture for a minute, okay? This is supposed to be what social constructivism is. Social constructivism, not everyone has all the pieces to the puzzle. People learn well when they can talk and discuss with other people, and that everybody brings a different piece so that you can figure out that puzzle. Okay, that's me overstretching the metaphor of the picture. But social constructivism, okay, this is what really happens in discussions. And you even saw it last week. Now, in this week, week 2, we are going to be so discussion heavy. And you're going to see so much social constructivism. Okay, here's the thing. What I'm looking for this week in discussions is for you to put out your thoughts. And then for other people to come in, read what you wrote, and expand on it. Give you suggestions, give you hints. So the discussions that are really so heavy on social constructivism, you won't see me jumping into those discussions as a facilitator unless, well, the group seems really confused and I need to jump in, okay? But I can wait a while. I can let you guys struggle and learn for a while before I need to do that. I'll also, you'll also see me jumping in where I think you've discussed everything that you possibly can think of, and I'll just want to throw one more thing in there. And so social constructivism, it is really these things you're seeing on the slide here. It's a heavy focus on context, culture, and collaboration. And we can seriously do that in this course because you are colleagues, okay? You are all instructors. You all have a certain amount of experience, whether it's in training or whether it's in education. So you are coming to this with a background. You're coming to with a bit of knowledge. So I can let you guys discuss much more than, say, if this was an intro class, say an intro to sociology class or an intro to your accounting class. You probably wouldn't let them struggle as much as I'm willing to let you guys struggle. Now, social constructivism. Here's the thing about it. You can learn a lot from other people, okay? Other people can help expand your thoughts, ideas, and have different experiences. And it really is that it's not so much that it's one single right answer, but there's lots of different other right answers. Okay? So we'll go on, talk about it a little more.
Well, one quick thing I was going to say about social constructivism is if you're building this into your class, think about the tools that you have at your disposal to it. You have the discussion. You also can look at group interaction or group projects. You can also go ahead and use things like WebEx. Because you all have access to it. So there's lots of different things that you can do when you're thinking about this concept and you're seeing how it's being implemented in this class. You can also think about how might you implement this into your own class for different projects or different pieces of your course. Because one of the cool things about these concepts you're learning is you can apply them individually. You can mix them together. You can do lots of different things with them.
Okay, so just want to say, look, it's all about the community, okay? And it's about getting in there and developing that community with your students, and also having the students develop the community amongst themselves. So now this is a third concept. Now this one is a little more to the cutting edge, okay? Now, if you have taken any kind of educational technology graduate course or education course, graduate level, probably in the last 5 to 10 years, you might have heard of the term connectivism. Okay, connectivism is something kind of new. Okay, while we talked about social constructivism, social constructivism, you know, that picture with everybody bringing a piece to the puzzle, it looked very face to face. Okay. Yes, there it is. But it looked very face-to-face, like, okay, I'm coming to the table, you're coming to the table, we're all coming to the table, we're in this community. Now, connectivism takes you outside your community to anyone in the world that you can network and get information from. Now, your students are doing this when they play games, when they go on discussion forums, depending who their friends are on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat, okay? Connectivism is connecting out to the greater world. And the thing about it is it's not like television where it's just like one-way communication. Connectivism is that they're going out and getting information, and someone can, and they can ask information and they can put information out there. So think of it as like two-way. Okay, now so I'm going to break one of the rules of of multimedia modality. And the reason I'm doing it is because I'm allowed to. And I'm allowed to because I'm assuming that this is kind of a new concept for a lot of you. First of all, that you see the slide, and I'm going to read part of it. Try not to do this with your students. And the reason is quite honestly because you can read faster than I can talk, than even I can talk. And so
sounds like a challenge.
Yes. So your students will be getting it from dual channels. So whatever you're saying is not where they are when it comes to reading this. But I'm going to go quick. Okay, connectivism. Learners move into a variety of different, possibly unrelated fields. So your students could be in any field. They're learning with you today and planning on becoming accountants, but then they say forget it and they become IT, or what else? They become actresses, or Or they open a
Oh,
B&B on the
oh.
coast of Maine or something like that, right? So your students will be learning and jumping fields, okay? Informal learning is significant, okay? So what your students learn in the classroom, what they're learning outside the classroom is probably just as important. And learning is for a lifetime. So it's a continual process. So if you teach your students along with your subject how to learn online, they can keep this for the rest of their lives. And so I'm going to go on to another some more key points about connectivism. And connectivism is a learning theory. Some people debate it and say it's a pedagogy. I'll go with learning theory. And so we'll continue on to some other things about it. And yes, learning can happen anywhere. Does anybody recognize that right there? Okay, so that's
Pokemon.
Pokemon Go. Quite, quite, quite the trend last summer. But think about it. Easy to put on your phone. You look through the mobile devices. Who knows where we'll be getting information a year from now, 3 years from now, 6 years from now. So, if there's something you can put on a mobile device that your students can take a look at, or a mobile app that might just work, just think about it. Okay, so some more about connectivism. Okay, it has a couple other things. Learning rests in a diversity of opinions, meaning you might go more than one place for an opinion. The truth is out there. It's just not evenly distributed. Okay. Learning comes from you knowing what nodes to connect to. It may reside in non-human appliances. You might look up something on a computer or a phone. And here's an interesting one. Think about this, because I think this is what we all want to do as far as our students. Okay, the capacity to know more is more critical than what is currently known. It's what a lot of us are trying to do. We're trying to teach our students how to learn as well as learn our content. Any thoughts there, Chris?
I just think like non-human appliance is going to be like this group's new insult. You're such a non-human appliance.
Okay.
So, but no, I mean that's the biggest thing about it is it's the nice thing about connectivism is the recognition that there is knowledge out there. The truth is out there, and that you can go out and you can use different tools to find the knowledge that's out there, and it really does leverage the connection that we all have now with the ubiquitousness of the internet and being able to access it everywhere. The thing is just remembering from some past interactions you and I have had is sometimes, when you're doing this, your students don't automatically realize that you actually want them to use their phone or their tablet or
you do have to.
So you might have to give them permission. You might just say, yes, I give you permission.
Yes. Okay, be explicit. So you're saying be explicit.
Yeah, exactly. Tell them when and where they're allowed to use. You expect them to use your non-human appliances in an effective manner for class.
Good idea. Okay, so some more things about connectivism, and I know that this is being a little bit wordy and stuff like that, but with connectivism, it is thinking about learning that connects you really to the universe, to the world.
Very cool slide, by the way.
They're NASA slides. Okay, and one example I'll give you that's really cool that's out there, it's called the Open Syllabus Project. Okay, they want to collect 1 million syllabi. Now, the thing of it is, this is a foundation-supported project. What they've gone and they scraped the internet for any mention of a syllabus, and they've collected them. So they scraped them, found them, collected them all here. So it's not even that they're finding the ones that people have to go ahead and give them their syllabi. Instead, they're just looking and saying, is there a URL for something? Can we link to it? If we can, great. But I will tell you, the other cool thing about it is they have different lists on there, like the top 10,000 texts that are being used through these syllabi. So for me, this is a really great, example of connectivism. You can go there, you can find information, you can go ahead and you can put your syllabi in there. And it really allows you to look at what people are teaching across the world. So you're not limited to, you know, the person in the cubicle next to you or the office next to you to go, hey, what are you teaching? You know, English 121, what texts are you using? Instead, you can look at what everyone's using. So I wanted to put that there as a quick example. Again, some other things about connectivism. It's about nurturing and maintaining connections, the ability to see connections between fields, ideas, and concepts. And currency is the intent of all connectivist learning activities. So getting accurate, up-to-date knowledge. So when you talk to your students, if you send them out there, have a talk to them about, you know, are you going to accept things from Facebook? What about Twitter? Okay, Twitter, but what if NASA tweeted it? Are you okay with if NASA tweets it? Is that okay? What about, you know, the Center for Disease Control? If they tweet it, are you okay with that? What if you know what if it's something you tweeted? What if it's something a professor from CU tweeted who happens to be an expert on anthropology? Are you going to allow that? So some things for you to think about it, you know, and this is all supposed to be mind expanding. And here's another example I want to show you of connectivism. This is an event that's going to be happening on the 28th and the 29th, virtual, online, and free. It's going to be 48 hours, 83 countries, and there's going to be educators continually doing presentations in a format that's kind of similar to what we're doing now, except they're going to have seats for 200 people to jump in, which is really cool. So that was one of my examples, and we're getting ready to wrap up here. Okay, so really quickly, connectivism, choosing what to learn and the meaning of the incoming information. And while there's a right answer now, it may be wrong tomorrow. And while you might be thinking I'm talking about politics, I have a different example for you. Okay, so I have to ask you, what's the answer? What's the answer to this question? Pluto a planet or not a planet? And
it's a planet and it is political.
What do you say, Chris?
I said it's a planet and it is political.
It's a planet and it is political. Actually, yes. Okay. So I have tracked down our instructors here and a science department chair to get them to answer this question, and they won't answer the question for me. They live in Hawaii, and this is science, okay? This is classification, okay? But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Pluto is still a planet. And with that, that's all we have. Thank you for watching, and just remember that for this week's discussions, make sure you demonstrate in the discussions that you are talking about metacognition, social constructivism, and connectivism. Okay? And that's all I have. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you online. Bye.
Bye, all.